I want to hear your feedback, by the way. Just like the top, just small one. Like, not now, I guess. That's true.
Let's see. 8 people. Just waiting on a few people, Sean.
Yeah, sounds good.
Looks like we're waiting on one more guy, Sean.
Sounds good.
Let's see, who is it? Yeah, I'm not sure where he's at. So if you want to go ahead and get started, you're welcome to.
Okay. I will start in like 10 seconds.
Okay, cool.
And you're recording, right?
Yep.
Cool beans. Let me get my video on. How do I turn this video on? Okay.
In the bottom left, I think there's, you'll see like mute and stop video.
Got it.
There you go. Yep, we see you.
Cool. Is it clear?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Is there good or okay or?
Put it higher. You can use that standing.
Yeah. I think we'll work with what we got. You think standing this will be better?
Yeah. Bring it right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Not better.
Yeah, that is better.
Sounds good. So I'm actually in the Austin office. I don't know if any students here are interested in coming to Austin. Is there anyone interested in coming out to Austin? Anyone?
I am.
Yeah? Where do you live?
Joel. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Got it. Yeah, it's not too far of a drive. Cool. Well, it's great to see you all again. This is exciting, at least for me. I don't know if it is for you. The item that I want to talk about, the agenda for today is talk a little bit about what we did last week. And then I want to share a little bit about what we're doing this week, share some stories, and then we'll do a little activity where you're kind of similar to last week where you were thinking about kind of your why. Today you're going to be thinking about your success, so the future. And then we'll talk about the exercise. So those 4 items, like the past, some stories, my story, doing the exercise, and then kind of the homework per se. So very cool. So for example, with me, when I was doing this, like the why exercise, the thing for me that was really cool was I really kind of motivated myself to be more active, and stay diligent, because there's certain times when, whether it was coding, and for me right now, my current practice is public speaking, there's times where I got lazy and wasn't doing it, or not thinking about it at the very least. And so for me, it was kind of like motivating. And so I'm curious if there's anyone here that kind of had a change in perspective, like, oh, I realized something, a reason that I want to do this that I didn't even realize, or I'm more motivated, or whatever it is. Does someone want to share if this exercise impacted them, or they found it kind of annoying because they already knew this answer? It could be positive or negative. I'm just curious to get some feedback.
If I could say something.
Yeah, could you share kind of his name and where you're from, or something you like to do, just so I can remember your name?
Yeah, sure. My name is Kurt. I'm from the Bay Area, just slightly South Bay.
Okay.
And
to
well, I'm really into music and just the arts in general. I don't know if you'll remember me for any of that. I'm not sure how I introduced myself last time, but I just lived in New Orleans for 4 years, and great.
Remember the name Kurt
experience.
Cobain from that band?
Yeah, yeah, it's same spelling.
It'll help me remind me of music. But yeah, you were about to share kind of your change in perspective, or whatever was the impact.
Well, yeah, if there's one thing that I've learned in the last 3 weeks, it's just sort of how I feel about interacting with people within the coding industry. Just doing this pair coding exercises has been amazing, and it's made me think about sort of how I feel about engaging with other people in the field in a very positive way. So that's my takeaway so far.
Very cool. And I also wanted, so that's really cool, because one of the cool things for me about the tech industry is that it's so much. I noticed, like, I was in finance and marketing. There's not people in competitive companies trying to like teach me finance. Like there's
right. Same experience on my end.
What was your background, or what were you working on?
I was in real estate, actually. I was doing general contracting administration, but I was trying to get into real estate sales, and I had a very similar experience where I was just having a lot of trouble finding mentors, or just a way to get my foot in the door.
Dog eat dog in most industries.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's very cool. No, it's awesome. And I also want to share on a general level, I was very impressed with the timeliness of everyone providing the assignment, and I can tell that everyone put in real effort to really, more than the actual delivery, but also just the thought process behind it. And so I think this is going to be, and I'll stress this later as well, is a lot of students, pretty much most students that blogged or kind of wrote about their story, whether it was at a personal level in terms of their own journal, or it was a blog or kind of videos. There's a lot of success that we've seen with people that kind of document their journey, because we find a lot of employers or individuals are very attached to stories. And so when you kind of share your journey, like, this is where I was, this is where I came from, this is why, and this is how, hearing all that is kind of what makes people kind of emotionally attached to you as a potential developer to join the team. So I really appreciate you all doing this, and I'm excited because I think it'll help you with your careers going forward. Whether it's software engineering or something else, I think hearing you speak about your interests and passions is very valuable. So very cool. The second thing that I want to go through is just sharing some stories. I am going to drink some water because I just did a lecture here too. Feel free to grab some, I don't know, take a deep breath. I guess all you're doing is listening to me talk. Does someone else want to share something they like to do just to kind of lighten the mood here? someone on the East Coast or Southeast? Anyone that want to share like kind of some of their interests?
I'll take a stab at it. So I'm Joel. Out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I sent you an email. I didn't do a blog post or anything, but
it doesn't matter.
On the reason that we did the thing we did earlier, I felt motivated to actually spend more time, going over some of the videos that we were recorded and stuff. But I also noticed how much I didn't know, how much I felt like I was behind and everything else going through this. So, but also it kind of put in perspective where I thought I was and such. So on doing that last exercise, but it did motivate me to spend more time doing things and trying to catch back up and be at a higher level for myself. So,
that's great. I think one of the crazy things about engineering and most careers is you probably won't ever catch up because there's thousands of engineers that are building technology that none of us understand at the moment, and they're going to build more technology. One of our lead instructors was just speaking about how he, the original instructor to start Maker Square, the company that merged with HackerRector, today he was speaking about how, he builds chat rooms or like chat features. And he was talking about how it changes all the time, and he doesn't know anything about chats, even though he runs a company that focuses on it. And it's entertaining because he's been engineering, like software engineering, for 10 years. And he's always like, man, there's so much to catch up on. So the reality of the situation is there's always going to be enough for you to learn, but it's valuable. That's cool that you recognize that there's more to learn. And you say it with good spirits in the sense of there's more that I want to learn rather than there's too much for me to learn, And so, I think that's great. And I want you to recognize that, that unfortunately never ends, that battle. So whatever the case, that's really cool that you shared that. And I wanted to share one of the stories of one of the engineers that went through our program. Her name was Emily. She was previously studying theater in college. She had interest in coding in high school and college, and she kind of dabbled around. She graduated college and went to teach English abroad in the East Coast. And her interest in engineering continued, and she heard about these tech schools or these boot camps. And she signed up for a class. And the interesting thing about her is that she actually went through kind of like a turbulent time in class where she felt like she knew a lot and she was kind of like mentoring other students. And then there's times where she felt like she didn't know much. And she just was down on herself. And so one of the instructors, or I think the shepherd or one of the class leads, encouraged her to always share what's going on in her head, whether it's being vulnerable or being a teacher. And so throughout the program, she often was kind of the mentor-like student. And at the same time, she was also, quote unquote, the least knowledgeable. And it depended on the topic and the week, what was going on. And I share this because that's kind of the path of a lot of students, where there's always these ups and downs when they know something, like they might be good at presenting, but they're not good at the database, whatever. To continue on with her story, she actually went on to, theater background, taught English in a country in the East Coast with a little bit of interest in coding. And she went on to work at this company called Lever. Her starting salary was $90K. She took 2 promotions up to $120K in the past 9 months. And she really loves what she does. More importantly, she really likes the stuff that she's learning. And she's now becoming one of the engineers that leads talks to other engineers about things that she's learned about the technology space. So, I think it's really fascinating to hear about her story because she definitely went through challenges. She went through an interesting background before she went in these schools, and she found success. So I just wanted to share that because I want you all to imagine what success looks for you, whether it's a particular salary or a particular city, a particular lifestyle, a particular industry, company sized. I want you all in this next week to be thinking about that. I'm going to share one more story, and then we're actually going to talk about taking some time to imagining that success. And that's why I'm sharing these stories. I want you to know what is possible. Another story is this individual named Randy Tolentino. He was a rapper, a hip hop musician, and he also worked at the YMCA. And he had eventually he had a wife and 2 kids, and he was working at the YMCA and not having his career launch in rap. He wasn't making as much money as he wanted, and so eventually he, like Emily, the other individual, he had interest in coding, and so he heard about Maker Square, and he lived in San Diego, and he was like, let me try this. And he actually, I didn't even know this, he moved his whole family, and he kind of like threw all his savings at our class, which is pretty scary. But yeah, I know that he used to help his kids go to sleep at like 9 p.m. and he'd go to sleep by 9:30. He'd be in class by like 5 a.m., driving like 45 minutes to get there. And he was so diligent about getting there early and leaving on time. And he went on to work at IBM, and he was telling us that his kids, like, he literally has a new future for his kids because they visit him at work and it's not doing something that he doesn't enjoy as much. They see him at IBM doing something that's pretty phenomenal. So he was sharing, and it made me emotional that he accomplished something he never thought he could. And so, yeah, it was a very interesting story, and I just wanted to share that with you all. So, yeah, those are the 2 stories, and I want you all, again, I'm going to take a quick gasp of water. I'm running out of my voice. Cool beans. I want you all to take a couple, 2 minutes and 30 seconds actually on the dot of, and you're going to have a few days to think about this, but briefly, I want you all to think about what is success going to look like after you learn to be a software engineer more effectively over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. What does the dream look like? Whether it's in 6 months, whether it's in a year or 2 years. I know for me, it was to learn to code, to make an application and work more in philanthropy. And I found that it was so interesting that I had these opportunities. And then I was like, it'd be cool to create a school that gave other people this opportunity. And I share this because we not only started a school, but I'm speaking to 15 of you that are going to be, anywhere from the 1,200th student to the 1,300th student that goes through this program. And we're in 4 cities. Like, it's crazy what happens if you just kind of imagine success and chase that first baby step. And I'm blown away about, how my dream has evolved these days. And I want you all to imagine the next step in your career. And I'm excited because I think that next step is going to just be step 1 or step 2 or step 3. Because it's exciting. It's going to be exciting what happens in the future. So going back to the exercise, spend 2 minutes and 30 seconds thinking about what does the future look like? And you might want to close your eyes. You might want to go for a quick walk. Just imagine the company size, this location, the salary, the influence, the industry, whatever it is. And I want you to do that starting after sneeze number 4. Start right now if you can. I think it's been 2 minutes. Y'all here?
Yeah, they're still here.
Cool. Can someone just get a handful of people just make some noise that you took the time to think about this?
Noise.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Love, 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 love.
Make your favorite noise. I'll go. Cool. We'll start in like I meant to give you kind of a 20-second warning, so we'll start in a few moments as you kind of write down your thoughts. Cool. Well, I will kick it off and share kind of my my vision. For me, I have a vision related to leading a software engineering team, but I also have a vision of being more effective of being an inspirational speaker, inspirational comedic speaker, more importantly, in the near future. And so I've had the opportunity to speak at universities and different schools and in front of you all. And I actually genuinely have a vision of speaking at large stadiums and talking about different stories of like fascinating people that have accomplished a lot of things, because I find that individuals hearing stories of other people that are similar to them and people that they can relate to is very inspiring. Hearing about a woman that was in their mid-20s and really interested in design. They somehow learned how to code, and they're working in Red Bull and traveling the country is a true story. And I hope that those stories can, those variety of stories can help influence people. So for me, that is my dream. In short, is becoming a public speaker at a large scale. I hope to inspire more and more individuals. So that is my story. Can someone share a little bit about themselves? And it can be as brief as like a sentence, or it can, you can go as deep as you want to.
Hey there, Sean. This is Chris here.
Chris, and then let's stick to location and one of your interests.
Oh, sure. So my location is Bay Area, and one of my interests is exercising and weightlifting.
You like lift and iron? What's one of your favorite workouts?
I mean, they vary day by day, but I would say that right now I'm really enjoying, skull crushers, working my triceps, and I'm finally coming into my own on the different kinds of bench presses. I'm really
Nice.
enjoying that.
They often say tries for the guys because guys are impressed by tries. So
totally right. Well, and it's the muscle group. We over focus on our biceps sometimes, but the tricep is the larger muscle group, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
And you're Chris, Mr. Tries, or Chris Skull Crushers, whatever it is. Cool. And then, if you don't mind sharing, you imagining your success.
Yeah, sure. So I think the reason that I mentioned the weightlifting thing too is I think it would be kind of neat to create an app specifically for weightlifting. I've seen a couple of the ones out there. They're not great mostly. And I just think there's a better, it's that classic entrepreneurial kind of spark. I think there's a better way it could be done. So that's one thing that kind of, I think about coding while I'm at the gym, and I think about that. So that's exciting. But coming out of the boot camp, I would love to find myself a job where, at least a couple months in, I could be making six figures, similar to what you mentioned. Some financial stability would be really, really nice. My background also, for the past few years, is music, which is not known for its financial stability.
Yeah.
So the flexibility of where to live would be great. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to share one. Hopefully, we can work together on making. I actually have. I was actually going to take over a company that was a web application focused on helping people build habits related to being active and eating healthy and working out. Cool. And I actually just spoke to a software consultancy today about kind of getting this off the ground. So maybe it's something we can work on launching together.
I would love to. Let's definitely chat about that.
Yeah, at the very least, we can chat about the idea and talk about, maybe in the future or something. So very cool, and I think that's cool. It's something that relates to something that you would use. because it's easier to be empathetic to the customer when you're aware of how to use it, when to use it.
No, absolutely. So I've got a couple more things here. Do you want me to share them, or do you want to move on?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, cool.
We have a lot of time. Well, we have 4 minutes, so I guess be quick. I'd like to hear a couple other people. So, but yeah, keep going. Maybe is it okay?
Sure.
If we go overboard?
Yeah, actually, you've been scheduled for an hour if you want to use it. So until
All right, we'll do a few stories. I actually have a meeting in like 20 minutes, and I have to travel there. So, but yeah, I want to hear these stories. It's exciting to see what your imagination is.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Really quick, just 2 or 3 more bullets, I guess. Work flexibility, ability to work from home would be fantastic. You know, I have that vision for myself. Being able to really pull the financial weight, in life and in my marriage would be fantastic. You know, that's just a fantastic thing to work towards. And, being really valuable to a company. I mean, that's a really nice, I've gotten to experience that feeling in the past when you're doing work that's really valuable and important to the company. And that all by itself is just, that often results in a day's work feeling good,
Yeah, like being appreciated, knowing that you're adding value.
Totally.
Being the bread, bringing in the bread is nice. In remote, I mean, the thing that made me interested about what you're talking about is like, this role I have is very new to the company, which is kind of like helping people. It's more like kind of helping people reach their goals. And it's not just learning to code. It's more like, how do you become a remote employee? Like, that's something you want to accomplish, and I want to be someone that can help you do that.
Cool.
And so a little background on myself is, I'm in Austin today. I was in Dallas yesterday, and I was in Chicago 3 days ago. And most of my work is done on the soccer field when I'm taking a walk. And I work using voice to text on my iPhone, strategizing about how individuals can stay motivated, how you can do distraction-free work. So I'm definitely an exhibit A of working remotely and whatnot. So I'd love to share my perspective because I do a lot of that with one-off students. So I'm excited to work with you and continue the conversation beyond just prepping for the class.
Absolutely, Sean. Thank you so much. Look forward to being in touch.
Yeah, no doubt. Anyone else feel comfortable sharing some of their imagination? No. Oh, we do.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, my name is Kay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
you. My goal is something like...
Interest. What's one of your interests?
Sorry?
One of your interests. Do you mind sharing something you enjoy doing? That way we can all learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, my prime interest is languages.
Language.
I was a translator up till now. I speak 6 languages.
Nice. What are some of the ones you like more than others?
English is one of my favorites because it's quite easy to speak comparatively. And my native language is Korean and Japanese. So
got it.
Favorites. And then I like Italian because I lived in Italy for a while. Yeah.
Very cool.
So those are my interests. And the main reason why I started coding was because I wanted to build an app or like a service that translates everything. So because of that, I've been studying linguistics, and then I've been using all those language-based apps, Lingo and like everything else. So that's one of my prime goals to explore.
So what do you imagine in terms of like, I'm just curious now, like, let's say I wanted to learn, Korean. Is that the name of the language is Korean?
Sorry, what's that?
Is Korean the name of the language, or is there a different way to?
Oh, of course it's different. It's called Hangugo.
Got it. So if I wanted to learn that language, how would your app function?
Sorry?
So I'm curious on like, there's like, I don't actually, I haven't focused too much on learning languages. So I'm not sure what's out there, but what are you imagining in terms of like the service you would provide?
So there are reasons why there are series in Siri in English, but there's no Siri in Korean. So Korean language and other Asian languages are very contextual. So even though you know those vocabs, it doesn't actually mean that in that context. So that's why we never had like working Siri. So that's my goal, to make an AI that can answer questions of people in like different languages. And like further, I was working with this startup company that was aiming to provide local concierge for the travelers in that country. Like whenever you're in like foreign country and if you need to find something and you can't because you can't speak the language, it's very frustrating. So yeah, I've been working with that company for about like half a year, and then now I know what kind of things I need to check in order to build those apps. And then finally, like my goal is to build something like Google Translate that people can use, but with less mistakes.
That's so cool. No, I the Siri, I actually I find inspirational and comedic speaking interesting, and so I write down things that I think are funny, and I talk about. I use Siri to like take notes, and imagine like putting Indian names. Like there's a friend that I have named Bijal, and it always comes out like the gel. And like my brother's name's Niket, Niket, and it comes out as the cat. There's like Niket, the cat. I don't know. Siri makes its own decision. So one, it'd be funny / awesome if it actually got that correct.
So I'm like learning all these languages, but not only the language, but like how it's devised. So like English, how it's made, and then like for all these Asian languages that use Chinese character, where they're coming from, how they're pronounced, and then like different ways and how they like mean something. It's really cool. And then I think I can apply some of the things that I learned from my coding and my field experiences if I get to a company, so that I can make that in the future.
No, that's really cool. And I know that you just simply using Siri has made me pronounce words a lot better. Because when I say ideally, it used to come out as like I and then like this name delay or something. And so I'm more like particular about how I say ideally. Because I like let the loop happen. And it's cool because like before Siri sucked for me because I was like, God damn it. But yeah, it's cool. No, I think it's really interesting. Very cool.
Regarding that Siri thing, I also thought of something else to use in the future. So
can you speak louder? Sorry, it's hard to hear at the moment.
I'm shy. That's why. Okay, so there are some things that interest me these days, like IoT. I have Alexa at home, and everybody can use Alexa in Korean. So it means that Korea's development for IoT will be somewhat hindered because of the language, and its context. So yeah, in order to like solve all these problems, maybe what I know and what I would learn, and like those things might help.
Yeah, no, and I think it's really interesting because like part of the reason that I talked about working remotely and being in the soccer field is I actually have a visual impairment. So typing on a screen, using a computer is very hard for me. And so for me to function as a disabled or handicapped by a visual impairment, like without Siri, like I would be a different person. I would be less functional, less effective, and less efficient. And so I think that's really cool that you're looking to make a Siri for, different languages, because it definitely helps people that, like myself, that are impaired. So very, very cool. Does someone else feel inclined, interested, intrigued to share a little bit about their imagination?
Hi, Sean. This is Shada.
Hey, Shada, how are you?
Good. We talked.
Yeah, it's good to see your face.
Thanks. My background is, I live in San Francisco, that. My background is in supply chain, in IT and office automation. I did that for 7 years when I was back home in Iran and in Dubai. And then when I moved here, I studied pre-med for 2 years. And then I switched to, programming. So with this,
what do you like to do?
What is it?
What is it like you like to do outside of like professional studies and whatnot?
I do yoga and dance.
Nice.
I love it. So my vision is for the next I guess, 3 to 5 years, I would like to work for a big tech company to be able to establish, more, you know, better branding for myself and be able to get the experience with a big company here and develop some products. So my interest in eventually I'll be having my own company to be able to develop some products, and technology give me the tools that I need, and I can then reach here to Middle East or Dubai, and then I can share some businesses there.
Yeah, very, very cool. Hey, you seem like an interesting, unique background. So I think combining the different skill sets that you have is going to be, you might not use all of the background immediately, but I imagine that when you start a company or you're leading a company, that diverse background is going to be really cool for you.
Yeah.
And then back to your interests, I'm curious. These interests fascinate me. When you mentioned dance, is there a particular dance style that intrigues you?
Well, there are some local dances from my home country that I practice, and I started learning more about other dances like the South Americans, and so I practice right now that.
Cool. And so part of the reason that interests fascinate me is that I'm studying a doctorate in being in psychology and the importance of like flow and being in the moment. And I use my practice of sports as a way to kind of like apply my understanding. And for example, maybe your interest is singing, maybe your interest is dancing, whatever it is, you often find yourself in a moment where you kind of forget about everything. You forget about, whatever stressors you have at home. You forget about, the future of you just forget everything. You don't really have to go to the bathroom or eat food. You're just in the zone. And I find it very interesting that I can do it in sports. When I'm doing work-related things, I often get into this like rut where I'm like stressed and I'm thinking about a lot of different things. And so I found it very valuable to take note of what's helping me get into flow when I'm doing things that really interest me. And I encourage you all to do the same, which, whether it's, again, whatever your interest is, like Kurt Cobain and singing or dancing or whatever it is, to kind of recognize that, like, wow, like when I'm really focused in the moment, I'm doing a lot of great work. And maybe I can transfer that understanding to when I'm, writing code. And so, I encourage you all to not forget what interests you, because we don't want coding to be your entire life. When you're in this program and beyond, we want you to find the right balance. So. Well,
yeah, sitting in front of computer for like the whole day is, it's kind of challenging for me. Yoga helps me. Yoga helps me a lot. Yeah, so I do that like every day, and that takes me out in a different world. That just like calms me down, de-stresses me, and then I can get back to computer.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah.
So this week, can I get some feedback on? Did you all like kind of get frustrated with writing the like blog posts or writing an email? Like, do you like video more than writing or writing more than video? Can I get a little feedback on that? Who did the video? Can someone verbally say yes or no? Who did the video? Can someone say yes?
Sean, you're getting some, I don't know if you have access to the chat, but you're getting some feedback in the chat. Chris, who was the first person to respond.
Yeah, I am seeing it, that it's happening, but because of my eyes, it's hard for me to read.
Yeah, he says he prefers writing. Somebody else says that email is the easiest. And Kay says that she prefers talking in person.
Got it. Okay. So one thing I want you all to be aware of is whatever avenue that you find to be the most comfortable, I encourage you to do that. For the individual that said they like to talk about things in person, one of the thoughts that comes to mind is you can kind of record a voice memo with your iPhone, and then you can talk to one of your friends or something, be like, hey, I just want to talk to you about my future. about like why I'm doing this coding thing and what I imagine as my success story in the future. That's just something that I'm thinking about out loud. If you want to talk to me in particular or one of the other staff members, you can reach out as well, and we can just record the conversation as we're having it, if that's more interesting to you. So we can kind of work with your interests. And part of the reason that I really, that we find it really important to document this, and I mentioned this before, is employers in the future is one thing to be aware of that love to see your journey, love to see the story, because they admire people that have big dreams and chase it, and they kind of go through the journey rather than just seeing someone at the end of the day. And so I want you all to be aware that this is not just a process for you to learn, but it's also a process for you to be able to share with others in the future. So yeah, I encourage you to, whatever it is that works. Maybe it's writing an email, maybe it's writing a blog post, maybe it's recording a video. I have no particular preference other than the fact that you continue to enjoy the experience and make it something that is something that I and others can consume in a reasonable time. And often you might want to write like 10 minutes worth of writing, but like find a way to summarize that so that we have a chance to consume that information. So cool beans. Any other comments or questions or any of the above? We have a new president, which is making some noise in different cities. So it's really interesting. As we were taking that break to think about the future, there was cops running around the building that I'm in right now. So pretty crazy that this, there's so much noise and so much uproar. And yeah, I'm curious to see where the future goes with all these changes. So we shall see. Cool beans. The goal of this week, the hashtag of this learning methodology is called Learning Success. Imagining Success. Last week was Working with Intent. And so I'll send you an email with a little bit more detail. Just gonna be the same format. Write an email, blog post, video, whatever it is. Maybe record a conversation. And if you can all send it on Monday for class. And again, I appreciate you all being very timely last week. So cool beans. I hope to, when I visit your cities, I hope to enjoy one of your interests with you all. I definitely, I'm forgetting some of them, but I know dancing and sports. I don't think anyone mentioned that yet, but dancing and yoga is definitely part of my interest. So very, very cool.
Awesome.
So nice to see you all again. I'll be back next week, whether you like it or not.
Thanks, Sean.
Cool stuff.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. Did I keep it under an hour, ideally?
Yeah, for about 45 minutes. Perfect.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. Later. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing. That was interesting for me. Getting to hear your motivations and a better understanding of why you guys are doing this. Also, just to learn more about you as people. You're just little squares on a computer to me. So being able to personify you, make you real people was awesome. So today is going to today's going to be a little bit interesting. We're going to actually learn about how the interview is going to happen, or how it's going to go down, and then you guys are going to have a little practice actually interviewing one another. Before we actually jump into that, though, are there any questions from last time? Any questions from last time?
Hey, Chris here.
Hey, Chris.
This is just more of a kind of a high-level strategic question, and I actually should have just asked Sean this, but have you received any update as to how much longer Fulcrum is going to be available for?
So that's a good question. I do not know, but it sounds like it is being phased out imminently. The I think the problem with Fulcrum is something like this is it's far more targeted, and you wind up learning about as much, but at a much quicker pace, and the pace tends to better match like what you'll experience and something like the immersive. I can find out specifically. I for some reason want to say that there's only going to be one more like cohort of Fulcrum. If you want, I can make a note, or you can, if you could, like actually ping me tomorrow or something. I can find out. But I also, Fulcrum is 3 months long, I believe, and if you're aiming for a January, February start date, it might not be a great. It might not be a great like option for you, especially considering there is like pre-course work. David, you asked about a pre-course accept. What is? I mean, what is that? Are they?
An email that supposedly went out to a lot of people, and they're like, if you get a 2-week reject, apparently you can enroll. If you interview before November 14th, and then you get rejected, they're rolling out like another program.
Yes,
you can actually make it in time for December.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. There's as Mohammed mentioned, pre-course accept is something that we've been like trialing for the last I want to say, I think 4 or 5 months. And basically, if you get a 2-week soft reject, they'll funnel you into what's essentially called a pre-course accept, which is pre-course, but it's a little bit more challenging. And if you get through that, then you're in the immersive. So it's basically if you make it into pre-course accept, you're basically in. And as far as I know, it doesn't cost anything or anything like that. So pre-course accept is pretty cool, but also you have to remember to take it seriously, because quite a few people actually wind up not making it into like the immersive because they like slack off or something during the pre-course accept. But that's a great point. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah, any other questions? I remember, yeah, so my answer to you, Chris, about Fulcrum is to just send me a Slack tomorrow and I'll figure it out. Also, hold on one second. Let me. David, do you mind if I share, your news, or would you like to do that?
Yeah, all you.
No, go for it.
Well, I got the official accept call this morning.
So yeah, for those of you that don't know, David actually applied earlier this week and got a formal acceptance. So he's in. He just has to do pre-course now. And then when are you starting? Like the 12th?
Yeah, the 12th.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Seems like your internet might be a little slow. But yeah, so he got in. So be sure to congratulate him. Hopefully that will be all of you guys soon. He's awesome. So, okay. So let's quickly just go through today's material. There's not a whole lot of like actual lecture material. In fact, there's very little, and there aren't even any slides. They're just basically some rules, best practices, guidelines that I want you guys to consider while you are practicing your interviews, and ultimately while you're taking your interviews. Okay, so the first thing, we're just going to read through this, and then you guys are going to split up into your pairs and then actually practice interviewing each other. So whether or not you are interviewing for a software engineering position or interviewing to get into a boot camp, both processes require technical ability. But technical ability is not the only skill that employers' boot camps look for in a potential candidate. As individuals, we tend to focus on our hard skills at the expense of soft skills. While hard skills show whether you are qualified for a job boot camp, your soft skills show whether you are suited for a job, workplace, or boot camp. So basically, this is just a reminder that there are two main factors in deciding whether or not you are going to be accepted to a boot camp and ultimately into a job or into a position that has kind of like this technical requirement. And that is, one, you have to be technically savvy. The other is that you have to be like a friendly candidate. You're going to have to be able to demonstrate that you can think critically, that you can communicate, that you're capable of listening, that you're adaptable, you have a positive attitude, and a great work ethic. These are all the soft skills that, when combined, make the ideal candidate. Once you wrap like technical ability into all of those qualities, you will be kind of like unmatched in terms of you will be highly sought after. So we're going to work on what's called a sprint, and a sprint is technical jargon for basically. It's technical jargon for when a group of people get together and they work towards a common goal. And these goals are generally very focused and like on kind of one goal. So the focus of this sprint is on practicing some of the important soft skills that are listed above, which will put you in a better position to interview for Hack Reactor, and once again, ultimately, kind of in life. And you, along with your pair, will take turns interviewing one another. You'll take turns being the interviewer and the interviewee for 25 minutes of programming time, followed by 5 minutes of feedback time. So the way that this is going to work is once you guys split into pairs, one of you will take prompt A, the other will take prompt B, and the person who takes prompt A will essentially interview their partner. After 25 minutes have elapsed, where the first person spends those 25 minutes programming, the second, you guys will spend 5 minutes kind of critiquing or giving feedback to the other person. After that, you guys are going to switch roles, where the first person who is coding is now going to spend those 25 minutes administering an interview to the other person. After those 25 minutes have elapsed, you guys are going to or the person who just finished interviewing is going to receive some feedback based on how they did. Now, this feedback should be lighthearted. Don't make it mean, because once again, we're practicing soft skills like communication, positive attitude. Those are both very sought after skills in the software industry. Yeah, and then if you guys have extra time, go ahead and switch again, and you guys will do prompt set C and prompt set D. These are somewhat long, so if you don't get through all of them, don't worry too much. They're designed to challenge you. Don't necessarily use them as a gauge to determine whether or not you're ready. Once again, they are meant to be like pretty difficult. Okay, the rules. Test. Remember the assert function that we wrote. Be sure to test your function, like always. The next thing, be sure to talk. Share your thought process with the interviewer. It's incredibly important, always. If you remember, like yesterday, or one of the things that we've been trying to emphasize over the course of this course is that don't just talk about what you're doing, but also explain why you're doing it. Like communicate your thought process, not like what you're actually doing. You cannot use syntax highlighting, so don't use Sublime, or don't do don't change it. You guys are going to use CoderPad or CodeShare, one or the other, but do not turn on syntax highlighting. Okay, these are the rules for the interviewer. Give the interviewer each problem in the prompt one at a time. So don't just regurgitate everything. Don't just copy and paste the whole prompt into the CodePad and say, okay, just work through it now. Give them the problems one chunk at a time. Have them solve that chunk, and then you as the interviewer are going to test their code and let them know if it works. So question the interviewee's logic and approach. Once again, they need to be communicating always. They need to be talking about their thought process rather than what they're doing. This is also important. Be sure to jot down some notes on your partner's performance. This will help not only you, or not only them, but it will also help you. You are going to be able to see what the interviewer is seeing. So you're going to be able to have this unique insight into the things that might not necessarily be favorable in the interview context. So be sure to write down the notes and then share them with your partner afterwards. And lastly, this is probably the biggest thing. You're a guide, right? Don't give them the answer. Don't say, oh yeah, you're missing a bracket on line 38. That's why your code isn't working. Say, help them walk through it, but don't give them an answer. Can I get thumbs on that? Cool. Okay, rules for the interviewee. Remember and utilize the recipe, the toy problem recipe that we've been using. Try to always be coding. Try not to let there be too much time, or try not to spend too much time in silence. Try not to spend too much time not writing code. Listen to the interviewer. The interviewer is there to guide you. Use their words. They're valuable. Don't disregard them. That should go without saying. They're there to help you, not trick you or anything like that. Be sure that you understand the problem. This means taking a moment before diving into a problem and trying to visualize it. Ask yourself, what is the nature of the problem that I'm trying to solve? What does it do? What inputs does it take? What outputs is it going to give? And then think about how we're going to convert those inputs to an output. Talk like an engineer. Try to maintain the same, try to use the jargon that engineers use: for loops, while loops, recursion. Don't say, oh, this thing here that calls itself. Try to be mature in your vocabulary. Think about the problem logically. Once again, this kind of goes back to understanding the problem, but break your problem down into smaller steps and solve it incrementally. And then lastly, if you find an error, try to solve it and talk through your own solution. Try to catch it before the interviewer does. The interviewer isn't going to be giving you an answer, but it is really cool as an interviewer if you see if you see an interviewee catch their own solution, like as they're like walking through the code. So even after you have a function, don't run it, but like walk through it before you run it. So actually, we are going to be using something called CoderPad instead of CodeShare. CoderPad is different in the fact that you can actually run your code you guys are going to select the demo. You're going to click JavaScript, and it should maybe not. Okay, actually, stay with the CodeShare. CoderPad is actually what we use in the interview context, but I think that it might actually be paid. So just stick with CodeShare. Just so you know, though, in the interview, we do use CoderPad, which has a REPL built in, so you can run your code if you want. But one word of advice is that it will count against you if you write code and you don't like walk through it before you run it and there's a bug. So don't try to like troubleshoot your code by running it a million times and looking for errors in your code that way. Try to find the bugs before you run your code. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm try to get with your pair that you were assigned for the toy problems. Any other questions? And lastly, I will be popping in and out of your appearance just so I can observe you. I might stop you, but it's unlikely that I will actually interrupt. So yeah, if you see me come in and not say anything, that's because I don't want to disturb you. David, I don't think you have a pair, and considering you're already, you've already passed, I don't know. I mean, you can sit here and we can shoot the shit, but I don't know if I have anything for you to do.
Hey, Vicky, is your pair here today?
Oh yeah, Joel, sorry. You will be with Vicky today. Corey is
No longer.
yeah, I don't know where he went. I mean, he's like in the Slack, but and plus you guys, I think, are slightly better matched in terms of your progression and ability. So yeah, just you guys will be paired. Vicky has also said that she's feeling a little bit under the weather, so let me pull up the whiteboard here. Let's see. Yeah, Joel, just go ahead and, yeah, let's go ahead and split now. So you guys can take some time. You guys will probably, So once again, half an hour per person. Then at the end, you guys will switch because we do have 2 hours. So then you'll do C and D. C and D are significantly more challenging, just so you know, than A and B. Okay, sorry, Joel. Vicky is actually Vicky is really not feeling well, so we'll figure out what we're going to do with you. I might just wind up interviewing you myself. It's okay, Vicky, if I totally understand not feeling up to it. So if you're feeling ill, then that's fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and split. Joel, just sit tight for a second while I figure out what to do with you. Corey asks, so one person does both A and B? No. One person will do A, and then you guys will basically switch roles, and the other person will do B. And then, like in between, you guys will give each other feedback. And then once you've done A and B, then one person will take C and the other person will take D. The person who took C will, interview the second person, give them prompt C. After they've finished that, then they're going to switch roles, and the person who completed prompt C is going to deliver prompt D. Does that make sense? So start with A and B, then go to C and D. Cool.
Hey, Eric, this is Chris here.
Hey, Chris.
I stepped off probably a little prematurely. This question may have already been asked. Are the problems that we're going to receive or be doing in the next hour or two, are they interviewed grade problems?
I would say yes.
Okay.
They're not going to be as probably as challenging as some of the more challenging problems in the REPL. But I did actually ask the same question when I was given this material to when they told me to have you guys do this, and they said that if you guys are able to go through this without any problems, then you're probably interview ready. Hey, David, how do you feel about possibly interviewing Joel or giving him or helping him out? I want to be able to pop in and out of the actual student interviews. I want to see how they're doing. So I'm not exactly sure how to proceed. You're the only other person here, and you don't have a partner, so.
That's cool. Oh, sorry. I think my mic was off. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I can, yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, you do your thing. I'll take care of Joel.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right, I'm back.
Did you catch that, Joel?
Oh,
No, I just.
you're with me, dude.
All right, cool.
I'm going to interview your ass.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Good deal. Have you got a co-chair? And do you want to jump into an appear, or do you want to sit in?
Yeah, let's jump into a peer.
Okay.
My apologies in advance.
For.
Oh, you'll see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem, man. We'll work on it. Am I A or B? Does it matter? Oh, well, I guess I'm B because you're going to interview me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna run you through the paces, man.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. I need it. 'Cause,
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I'll jump into the appear that's under your name on the
Okay.
whiteboard.
Let me see how to even do this. Damn it. I haven't done it for like 2 days and I just already forgot. And items. Joel, where are you at? I see you.
I just popped my name next to yours on the whiteboard.
All right, brother. I'm pasting now.
Dropping out of here, and then I'll jump in over there.
Team Fancy Stink Bug. Is that you?
Yeah. Very sexy. All right, get in here, man. Let's do it.
All right.
All right, we're going to hop out, Eric. Cheers.